is Mr. Harvard committee meeting. I'd like to begin with the invitation. We have with us Pastor Charles Smith. Put the rest of this in first. Provide the invitation, the pledge of allegiance, led by Commissioner.
Yeah. Lord, we thank you for all of your benefits towards us, your grace, your mercy, your love and kindness. Thank you for this time that we'll spend together. We pray, God, for your leading. We pray for your guidance, your directives. Bless our time together in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I yield to the city clerk.
Commissioner Adams,
Present.
Commissioner Clark Griffin. Present. Commissioner Edwards,
President.
Commissioner Henderson. Present. Commissioner Henry,
Present.
Commissioner Isom,
Present.
Commissioner Singleton,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Seeds, Mayor Mohammed.
Present.
You have a quorum.
This brings us to the approval of minutes, regular minutes, January 17, 2023. Is there a motion for the approval?
So move.
Motion is made by Commissioner Singleton and supported by Commissioner Henderson. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seeds, Commissioner Adams,
Due to my absence, no.
Commissioner Clark Griffin. Yes. Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Abstain due to absence.
Motion carries.
This brings us to approval of accounts payable listing. Is there a motion for the approval?
I make a motion to approve of council.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards. Is there support?
Support.
It is supported by Commissioner Singleton. Is there discussion on any of these items? The chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Mayor, I know, I did send in some questions. And I know that, we're gonna have some problems with getting some of our answers, but my main question is that if we could go back to the chair and the city manager, go back to that 30-minute early meeting where we can find out all the information from our financial director.
Thank you. There is an email, if you could reference at 3:43 p.m. today. The questions that you posed, there are answers to your questions.
Oh, thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I had many questions, but I see that we are without a finance director. And Plant Moran is not here, that doesn't have to answer to us. So that's problematic. I don't know. I'll yield.
Carrying none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seeds,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is the audit presentation by Raymond Robeson. Pardon me. Could you please identify yourself, sir, your organization, and your name? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Mohammed. Commission, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you for a few minutes this evening. My name is Paul Matz. I'm a principal with Raymond Robeson, who is the firm that does the annual audit. It's working? Okay. Doing the annual audit and here to report on the information for the audit for the year ended June 30 of 2022. I know many of you are familiar faces and you've heard this presentation in years past, but just as again, a quick high level reminder, ultimately our responsibility as part of the audit is to make sure that the financial statements are accurately stated. We don't report on the use of funds. It was simply that the financial statements are accurately stated financial statements. And ultimately we issue our opinion as to whether we believe in all material respects, those are accurate financial statements. We also, as part of the audit, look at the system of internal controls. Are there reviews? Are there approvals taking place? Are there duties segregated so that one individual is not doing too many things in a particular area? And so as part of the audit, if we have any findings or matters to report, or even just some recommendations, those will be shared as part of the audit, in addition to the financial statements. We do have a couple of those items that we reported on this year. Several of them are familiar and have been reported in prior years as well. One of the items we noted was a requirement for there to be written policies and procedures when the city is administering federal awards. Based on my discussions with Plant Moran, that has been adopted subsequent to June 30 of 2022. So that should not be an issue in subsequent audits. That's been taken care of. And then the other couple of items are some carryover items from last year on some amounts between the cemetery and the perpetual care fund that have not yet been repaid. A recommendation to escheat checks that have not been cashed in the last couple of years. I do want to note on that one, the amount of outstanding checks that have not been submitted to the state are very small. It is a very small dollar amount, but just again, a best practice recommendation. And a recommendation on taking a physical inventory over capital assets. And then there was one fund this year that wasn't included as part of the budget process that it sounds like was just missed in the process. So state of Michigan requires for any spending of public funds for there to be a budget developed. So again, that just seemed to be a one-time item that was missed for last budget season. Within the financial statements, if you have a copy in front of you, I'll refer to a couple of pages, but certainly you don't need to. But the first couple of pages I was going to refer to was actually pages 1 through 4 of the financials, which are the independent auditor's report. I mentioned ultimately our responsibility is to issue the opinion on the financial statements, and it takes us as auditors 4 pages to say it, but that is the unmodified, clean audit opinion that you want to achieve during the audit process, that yes, we do believe those are accurately stated. That's the highest opinion, the best opinion that you can receive as part of an audit. The next section of the financial statements, starting on page 6, going through page 13, is a section called the management's discussion and analysis. I do always encourage a board to read through this information because it goes beyond the numbers a little bit. There's some more narrative information behind just the numbers. It provides a good high-level summary of the current and prior year. So there's some comparative information as well. There's some discussions on budget to actual differences and some of that. So just, if you don't want to spend too much time going through the full financial statements, I understand there's a lot of information there. This is a section I always encourage a board to review to get a good high-level summary of the financial results for the year. And then there's one other page I wanted to just bring to your attention, just to share some information on the general fund for you. And that's on pages 24 and 25. This is a financial statement called the Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Changes in Fund Balance for the year. It goes through both the revenues and the expenses during the year for the general fund. but it also includes information on the original and the final amended budget. So you can see how the budget changed during the year and then how the actual results compared to the final budget. If you look on page 25, near the bottom of that page in the actual column, the third line from the bottom, you can see that there was an increase in fund balance for the general fund of about $339,000 for the year, bringing the ending fund balance to $6,161,665. And that that increase in fund balance was about $492,000 improved as compared to what the final amended budget had been included for. There's a lot of information in here on all of the funds of the city. I like to specifically focus on the general fund for purposes of this presentation. But if there's any questions or any areas you would like me to touch on in more detail, I would be most happy to do so.
This time I open it up for the city council to participate in the way of questions, comments, inquiry. Chair recognizes the third ward commissioner.
I want to thank you for coming and good to see you again. You give such a understandable
Thank you.
report where I can read it and understand it, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Commissioner.
Chair recognizes Commissioner at Large Adams.
I know, my question would be, I mean, I know that our finance director came way after the audit was about to begin, so I know that he probably didn't help very much. But in your opinion, would you say that in whatever part he played in helping with this audit was helpful in gaining and obtaining whatever information was needed?
So to be completely honest, we really did not interact at all with the director. I know he was included in some Zoom calls we had, going through some questions. But ultimately, it was Rhonda and Plant Moran that provided pretty much 100% of the information, that provided the support, the documentation for the audit. You're right, though, the timing certainly came into play, and there's a lot to learn walking into an audit, for a city with some complexity. So that may have played into it as well, but we really did not receive much in terms of audit support from the finance director.
And again, I thank you, and I do know that if I have any questions, I can reach you later.
You absolutely may.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes fourth ward commissioner, Commissioner Butler.
I don't know if you can answer this or city manager can answer this. Can you explain why the finance director was not involved in the audit, and he also specialized in audit? Why wasn't he allowed to be involved? Anybody can answer that?
What?
Thank you, Commissioner Clark Griffin, for your question. Mr. Williams is not here tonight to answer that question, and the city manager chooses not to discuss Mr. Williams at this time.
Oh, so he chooses not to answer commissioner question.
Correct.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Chair recognizes first ward commissioner, Commissioner Henderson.
Just have a question about, there was a couple findings as opposed to last year. I know you mentioned that there were fewer findings as opposed to last year. Just that number and with the finding as it relates to developing a budget, was that the first finding for that particular item? There were several that were addressed.
Yes, the budget item was the first time we've ever reported that. It related to the American Rescue Plan Fund. And I understand, there was no original budget passed because there may not have been an expectation at that time that funds would be spent. From discussions with Plant Moran. It should have been part of the amended budget process, and it was just one piece that was missed. That particular fund was missed. But that is the first time that we've had a matter related to the budget reported.
Chair recognizes our Public Safety Chairman, Commissioner at-large Singleton.
Thank you, sir. The increase in the general fund, I think it's 400 some thousand. Could you attribute that to anything specific?
There's nothing specific that I would be able to point to. It's the result of, there's nearly more than $9 million of revenues and approximately the same of expenses. So I would lean, I guess, more to, management as far as why they were able to come in under budget and have a more favorable variance. I guess we don't really audit the reasons behind the numbers. It's just more, the actual results for the year showed more revenues than there were expenses for the year.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Personnel and Finance Chair, Commissioner Ice.
Yes, thank you for coming tonight. Could you just tell me about the cemetery? You said it carried over from last, the audit year.
So the matter with the cemetery is there are there's sort of two entities involved. There's a perpetual care fund, and then there's the actual operation of the cemetery. From my discussions with Plant Moran, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, it's been, several years, there was $100,000 that the perpetual care fund loaned to the cemetery for, I think, cash flow purposes. And that $100,000 simply has not been repaid since it was initially loaned over. With a perpetual care fund like that for the cemetery, it's supposed to keep intact its principal. And so, having an advance like that is unusual for that type of a fund. So really our point is just a reminder that that outstanding balance continues to exist.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
I just have a question with any of the findings, how does that affect our credit ratings, our abilities to get bonds if we need them? How does those affect?
Ultimately, I don't believe they have an impact. Certainly the items that are on our comments and recommendations page, which are most of the items, I don't believe they would have any impact. I think you're going to have a bigger issue if, for example, the audit was not filed on time with the state of Michigan. It's due to be filed within 6 months, which certainly it was. So I'm not aware that from our perspective, the one finding, what we consider a finding, is the matter of the written policies, which has been addressed. But I'm not aware that it has an impact on borrowing or credit rating or anything of that sort. I'm not in that line of business, but to my knowledge, it does not.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just historical trending for like the last 3 years or last 2 years, if you go back that far. Fiscally, how is the city? I mean, because are we trending in the right direction? What are you seeing that in other times you're not seeing now than what you've seen in the past? And I think that's one of the things that we need to kind of concentrate on, because I know you've been dealing straight with Plant Moran, I will believe. And so from the last, I think you've been there for like 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken. What have you seen that is different now than you've seen since you've been there?
Just a point of clarification, is your question more in terms of the financial results, or is it more in terms of the audit
Well,
process?
to the audit process, we had so many discrepancies before that have been healed since you've been here
Sure.
and since things have turned around. Can you state how it looks now compared to where it looks then, or how it's trending now in the right direction? Thank you.
Sure. I would say overall it's trending very positively. Plant Moran is a competitor of ours, in the audit and accounting space, but I will tell you, we have a wonderful working relationship with them. I think that they've done a lot of good things. They've made our audit process, much, much easier and much smoother with their support. I know in speaking with Rhonda, she's a little bit frustrated that there are some comments that were there in the last couple of years that continue to be there. She spoke to just having enough time, having resources, there being some turnover in some key areas that, impacted the ability to get some of those things cleaned up. But I would say from our perspective as auditors, compared to a handful of years ago, with their support, I think it's been trending in a very positive direction.
Chair recognizes Commissioner at Large Adams.
Thank you. I guess my question would go back to the general fund and the increase within. You started on this audit when fiscal year ended, and it was complete when?
So we start the audit in late October,
Okay,
and it was completed early to mid-December.
okay, so my question is, would funds from another source reflect the high amount that's within the general fund, of funding that's been in the general fund that had not been released yet to another entity? And
So-
I asked that question because I know factually that all taxes were delivered to all other entities except for the Brownfield Authority, which was $213,000 some odd dollars, and it was released in late December. So I'm sure that would something like that reflect on that increase?
So the taxes that are collected in that manner don't actually run through the general fund. So those would not have an impact. There's a separate tax collection fund where the tax funds flow through. So that would not have an impact on the general fund's change in fund balance.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
You said you worked closely with Ms. Rhonda and Plant Moran. Did you receive paperwork from Plant Moran? Is that a requirement? And if so, did you get the paperwork necessary?
Paperwork as far as supporting documents for the audit.
Yes.
Yes, most of the information we received came either from Rhonda or from one of the staff. We set up a portal for the audit process. And so any of the staff that have been assigned to that portal are able to upload documents, and then we pull those down and use those for audit support. So I'm sure Rhonda provided, many or most of those, but there may have been other staff who uploaded documents as well.
Yes, sir. If you could just speak to the language of clean, unmodified, as it relates to a audit.
Sure.
Then speak to the importance or not. And if you could also relate it to how does that position a city when you have $1.2 trillion federal money about to be allocated?
Sure.
Or the state money, how does a audit impact how federal and state government deal with municipalities?
So ultimately, an unmodified or a clean opinion does not state in any regard to the financial health of an organization. It simply speaks to whether the financial statements, whether they're reporting good, bad, or otherwise, that they're accurately stated financial statements. So that's really what the unmodified, the clean audit opinion relates to. It's a requirement of the state of Michigan. All governments are required to have an unmodified opinion. And as part of that, the reason is, if we were doing the audit and we identified errors, it doesn't do you as a commission any good to get financial statements that are inaccurate financial statements. And we point that out that they're inaccurate. What's beneficial for you is to have everything be accurate. So if there are adjustments needed as part of the audit, we propose those and they get reflected in the financial statements. So The unmodified clean opinion is very important. It's required by the state. But what it really speaks to is the accuracy of the numbers in the financial statements.
And the efficacy of the books.
Yes.
Thank you. We have one last burning comment or question, Commissioner
Who
Adams.
said it was burning? Thank you. Have you ever done an audit and used actually, with any entity that use a matrix or whatever you call it, that keeps the finances of an entity online in public view? Isn't that the same as record keeping, as the records that you would look over, and have you ever had to use any of those?
So I've not. I know there's certain information, there's transparency reporting rules as far as some information needs to be published on the website. But I know, it's typically limited to some budgetary information in the financial statements, more so than, the detail with all of the transactions and all of the accounting that takes place, because it can just be overwhelming because there's so much of it. So I think generally what we see publicized on the websites are really the financial statements and the budgetary information.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And as stated, his information is available for other questions or comments prior or after the commission meeting. We're going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Commissioner Edwards.
Yes.
Did you have your hand? Pardon me. We're going to move to the citizens' comments or public participation. We do want to just stress that you do not have to be a resident of the city of Benton Harbor to participate in the public comment. It is for the public at large, whomever would like to speak during this time. The city clerk will call you accordingly as you appear on the signage.
Spencer Nesbit.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have a question now. Actually, I've seen the things that's going on in the city. So this winter months, the streets are being kept clean, and the snow plow is done. But my question here is, I missed the last meeting because I had to go to Ann Arbor for my eyes. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to see. I hate to see the city clerk making two commissioner paperwork, one in Braille and one in letters, so I can read and see what's going on myself. But my question is, I had my house lead inspected last week, and so far everything came out great. Now, as far as the meter reading, I haven't got any answers from that at all. I don't know what's the status of that going to be. But he did not test the water in the house. He said that due to the fact that I still have some galvanized pipes in the house, which would still produce lead. And my thing is, I understand that the city has done a great job as far as doing outside work and getting rid of all the pipes. But if we still have lead, galvanized pipes inside the house, and we're still producing lead, and the last report that I got, I was still high after the pipes and things had been changed. So maybe it has already been addressed. I don't know. I'm just asking the question, are there any plans for the housings and things that still have the galvanized pipes and still producing lead? Will those things be replaced through whatever program we have, or is that part of the pipes being changed on the outside? So, I'm still having lead, I'm still using bottled water, but are you going to change something? Has something already been changed in the works for changing those things? And, that's what I am. That's my question.
So there is a program, Mr. Nesbitt, through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, where they will inspect a home and make the necessary improvements or repairs or replacements as it relates to any type of lead detection inside of the home. And this is at no cost to the homeowner.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so you would just need to contact the state
Okay.
of Michigan. They would come out, inspect the home, and then they would come back to do the necessary changes based upon their investigation.
Okay, now this was through the state of Michigan. Well, I'm thinking that it was through the state of Michigan because when it was from Lansing, the gentleman that came out and
Yes,
did the inspection
correct.
on the house last week. And he said everything so far looked great, but I don't know what the readings from the gun was going to do because they went into the wood with the gun trying to get the depths of what happened with that. But he did not check the water due to the fact that there was galvanized pipes. Now, this gentleman, I don't have his card with me, but he was from Lansing. And he came in from Lansing, so he said he was with the state of Michigan doing that. So that portion of it, I think, might have already been done. I don't know whether this is something different.
That, it sounds like you've had the first step.
Right,
The second part would be they're gonna send you the results
right. I haven't received that yet.
of their inspection. And then you'll also, after that, receive a follow-up call where they will send people out to
Do again.
view the home to see what actual changes
Right,
will be made. So it's a process. The good thing is you're in that process. And actually, Benton Harbor is ahead nationally in this whole process of making America lead.
okay. Yeah, that was my question because like I said, he said right now, everything in the home looked great. On the outside looked good. But as for the reading with the gun, which I'm familiar with what he was referring to, the depth of the gun, he said, I cannot give you any information. You should be receiving something later on and let me know whether or not you still have lead in your wood or whatever, in your framework or whatever. But the only thing that he actually found was that, and my question was the galvanized pipe. So I'm still using the bottled water. If those wasn't gonna be changed, even changing the stuff on the outside wasn't gonna fix the problem that I have. Where do I go from there?
Well, they're gonna change, if you have, and I don't wanna, but given they're gonna replace the pipes inside of the home.
Okay, that was my question.
Correct. That's a part of the Clean Home Program, where the state of Michigan gave, through the governor's office, a minimum of 10 million, and maybe more, because more money is coming, for that program in Benton Harbor. And I found out in DC that HUD is also putting multi-millions for the same program.
Okay.
That we've already started.
Okay, yeah, that was my question because like I said, I got everything changed on the outside, but I don't want to have to use bottled water through the rest of my life because of the pipes and things on the inside of the house.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Emma Kennard.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I was mainly and quite interested in the audit. I hope everyone can hear me. And with the audit, I've been seeing that the same problem we've had year after year. The cemetery hasn't been accounted for, that $100,000 that was given to them. But then they reported a clean audit. So I'm trying to figure out how can they have a clean audit if they can't track paper-wise invoices of what the money was used for or the equipment that was supposed to have been purchased with that. So I want to know how can they come up with a clean audit year after year? And that wasn't last year that this was done. Prior to, this has been some years. So I'm concerned about this clean audit that we coming up with. Plant Moran wasn't here. And now we got the finance director, which I had been crying out for the longest to have one. And they said they wanted to get the right person here. So was this the right person to cover up for what's not done? And it seems like it's a track record, one after another complaining that they're not getting what they should in order to do their job. So what is going on? Something is not feeling right because we were too long without even getting a finance director. So anybody that's afraid to ask the question, I'm not, because I have asked for so long, and then he's not here to even respond to why he left. But the other, I do have the documentation of what the other one left, and moving of monies and not reporting to him, and that's what he's responsible for. This is a problem. So now you can smile and say, well, we got a clean audit, but it's not clean when you can't account for something. And that's why everyone that was voted for and asked to vote for me, I want to know, what have you done really for the city? Because the city still is in disarray, especially when you can find other documents, and it's more than we see. But I would love to have a forensic investigation on all of they had money flowing like rivers of water. But Benton Harbor have quite a bit of money coming here to not see a greater improvement than they had. So I'm asking that hopefully they hear my voice tonight. They have to have a forensic investigation in here. All of the hands that touch money or have to be responsible for which way this money is going, they have to be accounted for. Why didn't they catch this or make an issue? So I'm looking for that.
Thank you.
Marvin Haywood.
Good evening, and as usual, I'm coming down here to tell it like it is. First and foremost, when they talk about an audit is generally three places that they may look. They don't pull everything. They pull a few things and then they bring them to the table and they may discuss them. That's how an audit is done. But for y'all to have been hiring Platinum Moran for all of these years, I don't understand why they ain't able to do an audit. How is it that each finance director leaves it with the same thing? They can't get no information from Platinum Moran. They can't get no information from Platinum Moran. If we did a 10-year audit on Platinum Moran, I bet you we can find some money that has been misappropriated. They'll never be at the meeting. That $100,000 from the cemetery board, it was not accounted for because it was not an invoice with it. That's the same thing when Cornerstone Alliance got that money and said they was going to do one thing with it, they did something else with it. It's constant. And so when you talk about having the city's best interests at heart, who is actually running the show? Although I know who runs the show, but I'm just saying, who is literally running the show? Who has a real understanding of what's going on? It's money being moved in this city and y'all don't have a clue about it. It's everybody getting grants off this city but the city. And I mean, we talk about transparency. Common sense don't cost a quarter. It don't cost a quarter. If you don't have a clear conception of what is going on, it's time to move on. I asked y'all that about a year ago. Tell me, what is it that we've done? Or what is it that y'all put together to move this community forward? I mean, it's nothing. Everything is outsourced. Everything is outsourced. Even the money is outsourced. I can tell you where most of the money is going, but it just don't make sense to have people who are over this community because the community rise and fall based on the votes and decisions that y'all have made. And those are the facts. Those are the facts. I've been telling y'all this for years. It's been a takeover. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And everything I've been saying for years has come into fruition. I remember when we found the map. You remember we found the map? And it's like y'all sit here like everything is honky-dory. But I remember what Harold said. They got something on you. And I know the mayor always talk about it's a dirty game. Politics is a tricky game. If you're in politics to play tricks, you're going to either get tricked or you're going to be the treat. Fair exchange has never been a robbery. Fair exchange ain't no robbery if it's fair exchange, but it's not no fair exchange going on. How is it that this city been under attack for years and the only person can see it is us? Come on, make it make sense now. That's all I'm saying. We ask for transparency, but we ask for people that actually represent this community, man. These kids want something. They deserve a chance. The school is under attack. The city government is under attack. And everybody act like it's all right. Everybody act like it's all right. We got people representing us that don't even have the best interests of our community at heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stephen Boone.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. I have a friend who is a senior, who's a veteran, and he needs some help with his home. I have reached out to the VA. They're getting back to me. Who lives actually in Benton Harbor? What is available, Mr. Chairman? If I may ask.
Add something else.
Add something else?
Yeah, keep asking first.
I'd like a response from someone to that question.
So the public comment is generally supposed to be for comments from the public.
Okay.
If you have further questions about services and what may be available, you can contact the Economic Development Director.
Well, there you go. Okay.
For more information.
Well, thank you for that. Generally, by Robert's Rules of Order, we always address the chair, and he is able to do that. So, thank you for that.
Sir, the mayor is the chair.
I'm sorry,
The mayor is the chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah.
Have your question been answered?
To my satisfaction, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rod Jennings.
Blessings on everybody. It's my first meeting since 2023, so happy related New Year. Just got a couple bullet points. Happy Black History Month. Of course, it's 365, 24/7, right? Just got a couple bullet points. I come with my bullet points every now and then. I know some of y'all in here at least were just as disturbed when Brother Tyree was killed in Tennessee. And we know this it's been happening all over the country, especially in Black communities where Black folks are stopped 5 times more than everybody else. I ain't gonna get into that because I'll get upset again. So I'm not a grandstander, brother McGinnis. I meant to have come to speak to you personally because I'll be 56 this year. I don't have to get in front of. I'm not about getting in front of people and grandstanding and talking about. I'm about finding solutions. I'm gonna let you know exactly where I'm coming from, but I'm more interested at this point in my life in getting down to solutions. I spoke to I was coaching basketball in Battle Creek last week. I spoke to a sergeant for the Battle Creek Police Department, and I was feeling real disturbed about 5 Black cops beating a Black man to death, knowing our plight, knowing our history with the police. 5 Black men to beat another Black man to death made me much more upset than as if we would have been a white cop, 5 white cops. So what I'm concerned with, and what I want to share tonight is, he shared with me something that was very disturbing. He said the only training all across the country that the cops get is their annual shooting qualification. As an ex-Marine, I know what he was talking about. But it disturbed me that was the only training that the police get is in shooting. Now, I don't know if you're privy to that. Again, I'm welcome if you open us to come in and talk, have a one-on-one conversation. But if that's true across the country, that's really, really disturbing. That's one of our main problems. if the only training that we get for our policing is shooting. Blessings on everybody.
Thank you.
No more comments.
I'd like to thank everyone for your participation in the public comment, citizens comment section on the agenda. This brings us to our consent calendar items. Is there a motion for the approval of the consent calendar?
Make a motion
I
to
like to make
approve.
a motion to suspend council rules and add an item to the agenda for an RFP for a finance director immediately.
Second.
I think the first order of business is we need
To suspend
address
council rules.
Yeah.
the
To
items that's
suspend,
on the agenda.
to suspend council rules to add that item for discussion. That's a motion.
Second it.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Adams, seconded by Commissioner Clark Griffin.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats?
To suspend the rules?
Correct.
No.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson?
No.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Isom?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Deal with the resignations, yeah, so, no.
Mayor Mohammed?
No.
Motion carried.
Motion to accept the consent calendar is made by Mayor Pro Tem Seats. It is supported by Commissioner Anderson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Honorable, can we separate?
What item would you like to separate?
I want to separate accepting the resignation of the finance director and also accepting the resignation of the Delaware Board member Dorothy Parker. We can separate those two. I'll be fine to vote on the rest.
I'd like to separate the authorization for the city manager to accept the agreement of 500 feet of fixing the road and walk past Walcon.
Thank you. This brings us to the first separated item, acceptance of the resignation of Dollar Rock Board member Dorothy Parker. Is there a motion for the approval? Motion is made by Commissioner Singleton and supported by Commissioner Isom. Is there discussion? Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. As just what the climate is of this entity, if we accept this resignation, will they have a quorum? I think that it behooves us to try to figure out whether we step in or should we step out, because the longer we keep our hands off it, the more things are transpiring with this entity, and time is of the essence. I think that if the last meeting was anything like the next meeting might be, that we're gonna need to do something. So I would ask that if somebody was gonna resign, are they present? Do we allow people to just resign and don't give us any reason? Is the said person present? I would ask that question, are they present? I mean, because we have no said calls or.
Madam Clerk, would you speak to the
She has a memo.
Yeah, but I mean, the memo does not suggest, I mean, what we go through to put people on boards, and especially to hire people, at least just the satisfaction of coming to show your face. Maybe she could have sent somebody to bring a cell phone and talk to us. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, first of all, I think it's the prerogative of the person to come or not. Ms. Parker has served faithfully on that board and has submitted her letter of resignation to the city clerk. She did state that there were personal reasons as it relates to her family that she wanted to address and focus on, and there were organizational reasons. So she said that she wanted to resign effectively, immediately. That was her communication to me. Madam Clerk, would you like to share any?
No, I mean, that's correct. Everything that's in the memo is what was in her resignation letter. As far as a quorum, the board will still have a quorum with her resignation.
And I just would remind, these boards are volunteer, not voluntold. So we can't make anybody or force them to be on the board well more than you can refuse to accept their resignation when that's their wishes.
Oh, my God. Let's get an Uber or something. Let's, thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Oh, I didn't realize my finger was still up, but thank you, Mayor Mohammed. And I think you pretty much cleared that up. We sit up here and we beg and ask the community, for those that may have free time and want to get involved in their government, to join a board. And it's their decision to join or not. And just as well as things arise in any of our lives, because that's the way life is, it shows up sometimes. And a person, it's their prerogative to resign if they see fit. Whether it's chaos they don't want to be in the midst of, or some life event, or anything else that permits them from wanting to serve any longer. But I would say this, and I don't know what our role is within the Dollar Ride, but there's too much money that people have walked and stomped on the forefront, Brother Rod, out in the forefront, underground, on top of the ground,
Right.
to fight for money that's coming down.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to infrastructure and climate change, and our Dollar Ride is a very important part of it. And we have some electric vehicles about to come up. There's going to be cost saving over time to communities all across this country. And if we don't have people in place to make the right decisions for things, I just want to know, what can we do as an elected body with that being a part of our government, though we do not govern it. Something needs to change, because there's something really wrong over there that needs to be fixed. Something needs to be fixed. And I'll just leave that at that. We need to save it and salvage what we can, so we can show our federal government that's sending funds in for new transportation, electrical vehicles, that we are worthy, that we can handle what they're sending, that we're good stewards, and have good stewards that we're placing over them. So if she no longer wants to serve, someone else may step up. And I would nominate Fourth Ward Commissioner to take a seat.
I second.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I just publicly, thank Ms. Parker for
Yes.
serving. Showing that she's not a selfish person, want to serve on the board, especially when not getting paid. She wasn't looking for any pay. But when family matters come up, that's another responsibility. So I just want to thank her for her services. I hope that another citizen come aboard.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem C.
Honorable Mayor, with all due respect, I mean, y'all, we really sit here and act like we don't know nothing. Nobody wants to sit on a place on a board where they're being humiliated, talk ridiculous to, and have no backup or no backbone for anybody to step up with them to do anything. This thing has been chaotic for a long time. And we're not stepping up to the plate. And we can get everybody a plaque who they're right now, but until you handle what's going on, people don't want to be a part of chaos. And this is a time of a century that might not come around no more. And so if we don't do something, and I'm not saying accept everybody's resignation, but until we as a body figure out what's going on these boards, whether it's a cemetery, whether it's whatever board these people are sitting on, and we support them, the Housing Commission, to find out what's happening. We are literally just taking anybody and putting them on boards and telling them to serve because it's a free will service. You cannot continue to do that and expect quality people who want to serve on these boards to help right the wrong. So if we can sit back and patty cake this and act like we don't know that there's some things that's going on, if we want to, but I would not want to serve in chaos. So she did say there was some things going on. And I think as a body, there are people crying out in the wilderness, and we need to listen and figure out what's going on, whether we unseat, whether we go over there, and maybe we should show up at the board meetings to see what's going on, because board members should be reporting back to this board. And we have a board member that's sitting on the commission now who we need to start hearing reports. Every meeting we should hear a report from the cemetery board, from whatever board these people are representing, to let us know what's going on in these said entities. And right now, one of the greatest jewels in Benton Harbor is our transportation. And one of the greatest things that is trying to be ripped from our throats is transportation. We already know they're having meetings to have our transportation. We already know they want to take our taxpayers' dollars and put it localized so everybody else can benefit off of our tax dollars. But we can continue. So I do support her. But I think as a board, as a commission that governs that board, that we need to find out what's really happening before we appoint another. Before we appoint another. And because somebody put their name in there, don't mean that they're good enough or not. I'm not saying the word good enough, but to just go ahead and lead some way down the river. I mean, this is prudent right now. Honorable Mayor, I support everything that we have done, but I'm telling you, there's money that's coming down to right the wrongs, and we will not get that money if they see the behavior of the people that's what's going on right now. We don't have a director.
Why? We tried to address that in the beginning.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I'm done. I'm done with that. Y'all,
I appreciate
Don't want to call no names either.
all that's been said tonight, is to address the resignation of Mrs. Parker. And if there are ideas or thoughts, solutions to address, please have everyone quiet.
Solve the equation.
Then tonight, at this point, is not the time to address all of the issues that the Dollar Ride currently is facing. But Secretary Buttigieg did say that 66 billion is on the table for transportation. So your point is well taken. Chair recognizes Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On that discussion, Commissioner be on the board, Dollar Ride true, Commissioner should report to the commission true. Since I've been on the commission, I also believe in what's written. It was once put to me that I said something in the meeting, and they actually were backtracking the minutes. Found out I didn't say it. Well, in response to this last conversation, go back in the minutes, find out how many times, and when was the first time that I ask the city commission for help. I'm done. That's my regard to that conversation.
I call for the question.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isa,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes,
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Just like to, for the record, for the next item, remind the council that this is a item as it relates to a personnel matter. And personnel matters have to be handled based upon laws as it relates to personnel in municipalities. Is there a motion for the approval of the acceptance of the resignation of Finance Director Williams? Motion is made by Commissioner Adams.
Support.
And is supported by Commissioner Isa.
This was separated for discussion. Oh, okay.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
thank you, Honorable Mayor. I would ask of this body that we would allow the attorney to look into this, find out what all is needed to do to accept this. I mean, I don't think anybody knows they accept the resolution because we put a lot into this. We put money, we put checks, there's finances, that people have signatures. We need to know everything that's going on with what's going on before you accept this resolution. I know it's a friendly thing to do. And I don't, and y'all put that other resolution out there. If you ain't did it right 3 times, let somebody else do it. You know, I mean, if you ain't did it right before, let somebody else do it. But I'm saying tonight, I think that this should go to our attorney. We make sure every wrong is right and every obligation has been taken care of before we can accept anything. A lot of this stuff we just doing, and we don't know what parameters, anybody can say they want to just go somewhere and take our money and just go and say, I'll see y'all later. But I don't think it's fair because there's a transitional period that needs to happen in this whole matter. I mean, if y'all want to do it, but then when you come back to the table, everybody needs to sit up and kind of pull their pants up and try to figure out what you're gonna do for the next one. Because this whole thing, we have not done this right 3 times. Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I'm gonna vote no, regardless of what y'all say. I'm gonna vote no. I think we should pull it, honestly. But I mean, I'll say this. We don't let too many people quit when they should have had something else happen to them.
Amen.
City Attorney.
The finance director, as well as all staff and employees of Benton Harbor are at-will employees and under state employment laws. Everyone's free to quit, resign, because this is a municipality. He was retained by the city commission and were required to accept a resignation. There's really nothing to look into. A resignation doesn't mean that city can't retroactively look into things, but in order to move forward and to officially cut the relationship or end ties with an employee, the resignation should be accepted by the commission.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. My colleague said something about, it's just one word, accountability. Just letting people. No, there was an interview, and it was a public interview. And a lot of questions were asked. And one of the main ones was that, did he clearly understand that he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bosses to answer to. 9 of us that gave approval per charter that the city of Benton Harbor will have a finance director, not a firm that operates under an emergency manager or management that they don't have to answer to the people for their money or money spent, that should be sitting right here answering questions that the citizens can hear. The questions that those that elected them ask so that the residents can hear. The questions asked and the answer given by the finance director. Plant Moran doesn't have to do that.
Commissioner.
Plant Moran just,
what's in front of us is
let me
not
finish.
Plant Moran.
Let me finish. It's not
the
about, it's not.
resignation. So,
It's not.
But I can't
need
allow,
to finish.
I can't allow for
I need to finish.
you to
I'm
bash,
done with
Hey,
that. I'm
you
not
guys gotta
bashing
get off your
anybody.
mics.
talk about
I'm not
Back off
bashing
those mics.
anybody.
contracted
I,
entity.
our residents don't even know how this thing is governed, and they want to know why we can't keep a finance director. So with that being said, my colleague made a statement, as I was saying, and the problem isn't we that failed. The problem is, and we've all heard from all 3 of them that has left in times past, that the problem is down there in that office. It's not those that we hire. So something else needs to give. Even if it's this seat right here, that's not doing its job, or that one, or any of the other ones that is not taking care of the citizens' business. That's what needs to change.
Amen.
I'm gonna read the resolution.
And read his resignation
It
letter to
says
the public.
acceptance of the resignation of Finance Director James Williams. Whereas James Williams was appointed to the position of Finance Director by the City Commission on June 21, 2022. Whereas Mr. Williams officially took on the role of Finance Director for the City of Benton Harbor on August 1, 2022. Whereas James Williams submitted his letter of resignation to the City Commission on February 3rd, 2023. And now therefore be it resolved that the Benton Harbor City Commission hereby accepts the resignation of James Williams as Finance Director for the City of Benton Harbor effective February 3, 2023.
Okay, so may I have the floor back, since you took it and I was not finished? So with him having 9 bosses, no one of us has the right to go into the finance office and stop anybody's money or anything else without it being or coming through this body for approval. So there are many reasons why a person does something and this man has asked, hasn't even been given codes to get into a system to do his job.
Commissioner, you discussing a personnel matter?
It's been stated right here
Yes.
in committee.
That you really going into
Oh, I'm done.
a direction
I'm
that's
done.
not good.
I'm done. But it's wrong and you know it.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
Well, the attorney stated that it's the law that, you know, we accept the resignation, and it's also the law that, you know, a person won't resign, but it's also a law for mistreatment of employment. And from what I've seen, Mr. Williams was doing a great job. He was the only one besides Miss Tiffany Moore that got with you right away when you asked something. And to my knowledge, he had every intention of maintaining his job. He was looking for a house and to move his family, and he was traveling from Detroit 6 hours a day, back and forth. And what happened to Mr. Williams was unfair, unacceptable, and intolerable.
Right.
No other city employee or finance director should have to go through this. Thank you.
I call for the question. I call for the question.
Commissioner Edwards,
Why y'all laughing?
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
No.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
No.
Mayor Mohammed.
No.
Yes.
I rescind my vote.
Carried.
I'd like to rescind my vote. Because that's just unacceptable to me. I fought for years not accepting accounts payable. No, I don't accept it.
Motion carried.
This brings us to the final item on the agenda. Authorization of the city manager to accept a grant agreement
Motion to approve.
from the Michigan Department of Transportation Category F program to resurface Pawpaw Avenue from East Main Street to approximately 500 feet north of Wakanda Avenue. Motion is made by Commissioner Adams. Is there support?
I support it.
It is supported by Commissioner Henry. Is there discussion? Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mayor Mohammed. I just had a question because I know that there was some paving that just took place down there right before our public works. And I'm not sure where 500 feet is. Well, I guess 500 feet would be probably close to the railroad track, which is where on the other side of the tracks, I think the work began, but didn't go as far up to our public works. So are we talking about right there at the tracks all the way to Maine? Because it really needs to be done. I just want to know the perimeter length.
So if you look at the memo,
I'm not good with things. I don't have a ruler. Maine to.
so the city of Benton Harbor, it turns into township at a certain point. This will take you all the way up to that point.
Okay, I guess my question is because right there where that water stands, right before you get to our public works, and we've spent money on a lot of money on some very expensive equipment. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars on our equipment that rides over that those potholes. And where that water sits and stands when it rains, right before you get to public works. So 500 feet, why couldn't it be 1,000 or 2? I mean, couldn't we work with the township to take care of that? Because it's just senseless to cut the road off and not just complete a thing.
So the justification is Pawpaw Avenue is a primary all-season road through the city that serves several industrial, commercial users and provides access to other all-season routes. MDOT Category F program funds projects that improve all-season capabilities on routes with high commercial traffic. The existing surface of Pawpaw is in poor condition. Continued access by businesses in the city to the transportation network is of utmost importance to their continued operations. The estimated cost to mill and resurface, add drainage improvements to your point about flooding, replace curb and gutter and complete ADA ramp upgrades at intersections on Pawpaw Avenue is $433,044. The city received the FY 2023 MDOT TEDF Category F grant award to provide funding for 80% of project costs up to $346,435. The city's match is 20%. The major street fund funding, the cost match is $86,609. So
Is that part of the infrastructure too?
it's a total similar to what we saw on the Empire Bridge.
Okay, so what
So this is right. So what we need to do is pass it so we can have a total new street like we have on the
Okay.
Empire Bridge. How it was just horrific for years.
I want to make sure that I get my question answered because I've asked this question Because we have a business out there that's
Who has a
probably,
business?
is it that where, Novo is? And I'm looking at the water source, so if we're working on some infrastructural stuff, how we can regain our water customer at the same time.
I mean, right now, our major focus is just fixing the street.
Well, I'm just trying to think outside the box to get more bang for our little bitty buck.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. If we pay attention, every major road that's coming into Benton Harbor is getting fixed, beautified, hit that downtown area. If you're coming off US 31, it's looking wonderful. If you're coming off 94, it's looking wonderful. Now if you're coming down Paw Paw, it's looking wonderful. And every other street that's coming in to bring any kind of development or anything to downtown is being revamped, remodeled, anything that you want to say So what they're doing there is they're going to take that road and make it better for what's coming in. I heard a very phenomenal minister say that they're building roads big enough to bring whatever tanks, whatever they got to bring into our inner city when it's time to bring it in. To be honest, semi trucks are coming. Whatever kind of anything is coming in these areas are going to be beautified, manicured. Remember that Paw Paw is not just an area for everybody else, but it's also an area to access to Harbor Shores, to business in that area. So if they're trying to give you anything to beautify, to remodel, to revamp, it's important for us to be prepared and pass this. And hopefully we can find some local. My biggest question is not going to be about somebody else. It's going to be, we're going to utilize some of our local residents to get jobs when this money is coming through here to revamp this road, which hopefully in the next year, I've seen a lot of our people working during this lead line improvement, but then when it started, they were working. But when it ended, you couldn't find them. So I just would like to make sure that we are part of it, but I do approve it because every major street that's coming into Benton Harbor is looking fantastic. You know, there's no potholes coming in these roads. So, and these grants, you ain't got to look for them. They find us. You know, they find us. You ain't got to go searching for no grant writer to find these. They find us. We need to find them to improve our inner city roads also that are looking like piano keys. So thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, where's that money gonna come from, the match that we're needing for this project?
The Major Street Fund.
Major, thank you.
Already budgeted.
Right.
Call it once.
Question has been called for.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Court Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This brings us to our staff comments. Chair recognizes our Public Safety Director, Director McGinnis.
Good evening, board. This is our public safety week, so you have a report. I have nothing to report outside of that.
Thank you. Chair recognizes our City Assessor, Assessor Story.
Good evening, thank you. I only have one thing. The personal property statements are coming due in the next week or two. So any business personal property that has not been completed and returned to my office, please do so as soon as possible. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes our Community and Economic Development Director, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to remind the public that the coronavirus situation still exists. And citizens of Benton Harbor, we have downstairs, if you come in during the day, walk up to the paper window, you can get free the N90 masks, gloves, and containers of hand sanitizer. Please take advantage of it.
Chair recognizes City Attorney Rock.
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes our City Clerk.
Thank you. So I just want to let everybody know that the candidate packets are available for the 2023 election. You can pick up your packet in my office. These seats for this year are the mayor, first ward commissioner, second ward commissioner, and 2 commissioner at large. So the deadline to have those back to my office with all of your paperwork and signatures is April 25th at 4 p.m.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing to report.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mayor Mohammed. And thank the residents for coming out, taking time out of their busy schedule, and those that are able to view us online. I very seldom miss a meeting. I just thought about that. I missed the last meeting, and it's no secret. I've had some health issues, and all I can say is, like I said from the very beginning, this is my 3rd term that I'm serving now, and my chair is up this year. But don't count me out. Don't watch me, watch God. Because I will be running again to continue the work of the one that sent me. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I just want to say, stay woke. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention. And remember how we vote and what we voting for. It's 5 seats up. Time for a change. Have a good night.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. We want to let the citizens know I appreciate you coming and listening to what we're saying. I know that a lot of you are woke, and I appreciate you being there, but one thing that comes with being woke is action. So we gotta put our actions together. If it's something that you feel compassionate about, that you feel strong about, please bring one other citizen with you and let's have a conversation about it. Because the squeaky wheel will get the oil. If you don't squeak, you're subject to be not getting oil. So it's important that we come together as a people, because this is our time. Everybody's looking at us. Like one commissioner said, they come in asking us, do you want to do this? So if we, as elected officials, don't look out for the little man as well as the middleman, our grandkids will be asking us why. And that's something that we don't need. We need to look out for the generations that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just to say good evening to everyone. Thank you all for coming out, and say this from the bottom of my heart. I love everybody in this building. Thank you very much.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I'd like to thank all the residents and everyone that came out tonight. There was some discussion about several of our boards there, and that is true. There are a lot of openings on boards in the city that need to be filled with people who understand those boards, not just joining a board just because there's an opening, having a passion about those boards, learning about those boards and what the requirements are and the information that you need to know as being a part of those boards. So I would say, look at those, some of those boards, you have to be a resident of Benton Harbor, and there are some that you do not. So I would say, look at those to see how you wanted to serve in our community. And also, as it relates to the discussion about reporting to the commission, the library board, the housing commission, the cemetery board, they all report to the legislative committee Right now, they're on a 3 months rotation. So they do come in and they report what's happening. And as Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Seats talked about, us getting more involved in what's happening with those boards, because we do make those appointments. And Dollar Ride is one of those boards that, in my opinion, we need to vacate it and start over. But if that happened, we could not conduct business. So we have to have people remain on those boards so that business can be conducted. And so, but we do want citizens and residents who are passionate about serving and who really want to see those organizations move forward. The Dollar Ride Board is one of those boards. Again, transportation in this community is vitally important. And it's vitally important that that board, that Dollar Ride remains an entity of the city of Benton Harbor. And so with some of the shenanigans and nonsense that's been happening, that does jeopardize some of those, some of that. So it's important that we keep our eyes open. And as many commissioners stated, there are terms, people's terms who are up and who may or may not be running. And as Commissioner Adams said, never count us out. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Ice.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. You know, as we talked about, great things happening in Benton Harbor. You know, the roads being fixed, you got new equipment, public works. There's more to come. It's happening. Expect great things. God bless you. God bless Benton Harbor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I did get inspection on my house also from the state. Couldn't say it then, Mr. Special Mayor, but that the reason why they didn't test the water, because when they get when they see that you have galvanized pipe, they're going to automatically recommend that it be changed. So it wasn't no need to test it. Still drink the bottled water until Michigan Department of Health and Human Services get it all clear. But that takes a process that they told me, I think about, might take about a month or so before because they got so many, they send all that information to a lab and they compile a report and then tell you what needs to happen at your home. But they do know that if you have galvanized pipe, that they're gonna automatically recommend that to be changed. And the good part about it is the no cost to the citizens of Benton Harbor. Just to let you know that public safety meeting is going to be meeting next Wednesday, public safety and park and recreation. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there this Wednesday. The co-chair will do a great job. I'll be at some grant writing training for that day. So hate to miss it, but I think that's more important. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, and to everybody who's here and all my constituents. It's a good thing to be here. I was quite honored to see our mayor on the front page of the paper with our President Joe Biden. You might laugh if you want, but you need to be in the room to get some money.
That's right.
And if you're not in the room, we say what we want to say, but there's been a lot of times that we have not been in the room. We've been bypassed. I heard somebody say it was because of them online. And I'm going to say online, and I'm going to say the word that rhyme with line, lying, that got us $800,000, and they ain't never even talked to the man. The man said he don't even know. I don't really know him because of the newspaper. We got to stop allowing people to take credit for stuff they have nothing to do with. If he was the reason why when he had the press conference, why did the man tell him to come up front and say thank you, shake his hand, or take a picture with him, or go by his house, or wherever he was at to get the money? you know, that's just foolery, and we like that kind of stuff because that entertains us, it tickles our fancy. But it wasn't true. This body works hard. Our school board president is here. Ms. Robinson, congratulations on winning the victory on that school board. A lot of people didn't support, but you came through. You know, and that's the same thing down here. We can play little funny games if we want. But there's some people who might not come to the mic, but they support it. And they vote. And they seeing what's really going on. And they like the direction of the city. I can say this wholeheartedly. When we ran this 12, 13 years ago, NSP2 was building houses in our community. We were losing our money from CDBG because of different ideas of commingling the funds and all kind of other things that were going on. The downtown didn't look like nothing like it looks. Medium town, no town looked like it looked right now. When you drive through our city, you cannot just build a city one part at a time. And then what we do need to realize is that there's nobody coming in here murdering our children. We got to get these guns and have our young people putting these guns up. It's a shame for a mother to have to bury their child. I don't care who it is. It's a shame for a mother to have to bury their child because of whatever. There's children who are carrying guns, and guns that are bigger than the police department. And while we're fighting adults, we need to be trying to get these guns off the streets to make it safe. If a young man or a young woman bump into you or you bump their car, I had a business owner tell me that he bumped a young man's car and the young man got out and put a gun to his head. That's not a way that you're gonna be able to build inner city, having gunshots every night, sounding like the 4th of July. I wouldn't want to be, would you want to build that? You want to build you a $1 million house where you hear gunshots rattling every night, or somebody trying to hop your fence, or somebody got pit bulls running down the street with no chain on them? We have to do better. We're looking at the government saying that the government is responsible. I can't babysit every child. I can't get every dog. I can't wrestle every person down. I can't stop nobody from stealing from one another, trying to beat one another. We have to do that. That's right. And until we all take ownership or responsibility, this will not change. Lastly, the gloves did get delivered to McCord Elementary. I appreciate Commissioner Singleton and Commissioner Henderson for giving those kids gloves, and we need to do more of that. That's right. Kids need gloves and hats. And ain't nobody give me a dime to give them. And as much money as some of us done got, we should have been the ones getting up there, giving them hats and gloves. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you. I'd like to just thank the City Council for your comments and your government action. Just like to share some information with you regarding the first White House visit, which President Biden, who said he started on the City Council. So he understands the importance of local and how important local is, which is where all politics start. And he wanted for the mayors to know that he wanted to partner with mayors and municipalities because he didn't want monies, the $1.2 trillion that's going to be allocated to be tied up in Washington. So he's going to be sending that money directly to municipalities. I'm grateful that we got a great employee in Director Little. I was in the room with the HUD Secretary, Marsha Fudge, who was the former mayor of Cleveland. So as she says, or said, I understand, mayors, how important it is for you to be here. HUD has $568 million to come to cities to help with homes, improvements, lead remediation. I was in the room with Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg, who was the mayor of South Bend, who's a friend of Benton Harbor and a friend of mine politically. And he said it's $66 billion on the table for transportation. Former mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu, who was a special advisor to the president, as well as the infrastructure coordinator. And his message to us was municipalities that don't have their business in order will miss out on a once in a lifetime generational opportunity with the type of resources that's coming to communities. Money for small businesses. I mean, I could, and I'll share this information in the State of the City, February 28th. One of the things I also observed was how important it is for operational unity. When you sit down in front of those that are allocating the funding, I was with the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, over 230 cities, mayors from Canada, as well as the United States. And the request, and this is all going to be this for the city clerk, you can come in and see it. The money that they're requesting, 33 million for the Great Lakes Authority Act, 3.5 million, for studies. But when you influence appropriations, it's important that you have organization. You cannot influence appropriations if you disunited and talking about we need money for X, Y, and Z. So I would just encourage the council that let's maintain our unity. Differences, disagreements we will have, but our unity is so important as it relates to being able to get resources and money for this community. That's so needed. But as the mayor of Salt Lake City said, we've all had big ideas, but the difference now is the funding is here. That's true. It's money. So if we can't come together for nothing else, let's come together to bring resources and monies to this community.
That's true.
As opposed to fighting each other and money go past us.
That's true.
So that being said, we do
Well,
have
we have another item.
we do have another item. All right. That item, we do have a closed session as well to, could you introduce the item, Commissioner?
Item to make a motion to put out an RFP for finance director ASAP.
Does that require a resolution?
Well, when Commissioner Adam asked to suspend the rules, she wanted to have a discussion on putting out an RFP for the finance director.
So the motion is to put out
We should let the old
an
application.
RFP for a finance director.
Is there a motion for that? To approve?
A second.
The motion has been seconded. Is there discussion on this item?
So just so I can clarify, so the finance director position doesn't actually require an RFP.
Okay, good.
Because he or her would be an employee of the city, not a contractor.
So they would have to apply for the
They would have to
position.
apply for the position.
And does it require a resolution to post a position?
That would go, with the city manager being the
That's
director of personnel, that would go through the city manager.
But that's one department that's under the realm of the commission.
That's correct, but the personnel
Come on
director,
now.
but we still have to follow the rules of the charter. The city manager is the personnel director of the city. So he manages the administration. So yes, we hire him, but there's still, there's still an administrative side to all of this.
Okay, so I need to know what changed because we put out an RFP initially
We never put out an RFP.
Or it was a national
No,
search, it was a search?
The position was posted, RFP is request
Oh, okay.
for proposal as it relates to services contract, not an employee. The Chair Woods recognizes the Mayor Pro Tem C.
Honorable Mayor, with all due respect, and I'm being honest with you, I think we should have the MML or somebody step in and try to find this position and get us a candidate. The personnel, the reason why personnel has to do it is because people have to have background checks done. They have to make sure they're bonded. They gotta make sure all these other logistics are done. So, and ain't nobody got time for out of this body to get somebody a background check or make sure they're bonded or make sure they even fit, or make sure their background can do the job. I would ask that we ask the MML, who has a lot of people out there who helped us get a city manager before I thought they did it. There's an entity out there to help us get the position. So we've tried. I mean, the songwriter said we tried all night long. And we ain't found no joke.
Point of order.
No jokes, man. I mean, we don't need to try it again. Let's have somebody else go in there with the city manager and get the best candidates possible. Then present the candidates who have all these things in place and stop trying to, this is not a position where you got a person got to look like you want them to look. We just need somebody to do the job. All right? So I know
This is, I agree with you. We do have a direct contact with the MMA.
Yes, sir.
But at this point, it's no reason for a vote.
No, we don't have to vote. I'm just saying put it out there to the MML.
Chair recognizes, and this is on the motion to put out an RFP for finance director. Is this what we discussing?
Absolutely, I remember that resolution, I second it. So, if we already know we can't put our RFP out for it, it was a misquote. But we also know that we do need to do a search. Now, if we did this before and it didn't work, why would we use the same search mechanism that we used the last 3 times and think it's gonna work again? So, I sit up and had some conversations with other people in the community that, and their suggestion was for us to reach out to the alumni of universities in Michigan, as well as the traditional black colleges, and ask for the professional people that we need to sit in those positions. All of those things that we need to be successful and to make sure that the body can do its job need professionals. So I think that we need to reach out to alumni in the state of Michigan. I know that there is somebody that would love to come to this beautiful community and work. If we can get somebody to work 4 or 5 years that has already retired, that been into the business, know everything already, and then in 4 or 5 years bring up a Benton Harbor resident to take that position, that is sustainability. That is the kind of thing that we have to do to look out for the next generation. So that's just a suggestion. I think we should bring it to committee and have a serious discussion about it. And if we need to, we'll give the city manager a memo and ask him to take care of it. It doesn't have to be a resolution. It could be a memo for him to do what we ask him to do. Okay, thank you.
So, if I'm hearing this correctly, the committee's structure is the appropriate way for this to be handled to the Personnel and Finance Committee, which I still have
Took 3
confidence in.
years. 3 years.
Commissioner Isom. And I think that, I mean, we just accepted the resignation less than 30 minutes ago. For us to go into a discussion tonight about next steps, I think that we should probably just allow for this to rest and come back at it on another day, another context, and in the proper committee. Because we do have a closed session
Okay.
that is on the agenda.
Okay. With that, Honorable Mayor, can we just keep one thing in mind? When this happens again, I think that some type of mechanism, way by word or however it needs to happen, when we hire a finance director again, they need to have free reign to put their own team together because they are the head of that department. Because something down there needs to be fixed.
I'll reserve
Don't know.
further comment on that. Would you like to withdraw your motion, Commissioner?
I will draw a motion
Is it supported?
so that if we can move this discussion
So
to
this
the
item will
Personnel
go,
and Finance Committee. It don't take 3 more years.
I can't hear you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
I just have a brief comment as it relates to the finance director. I think we do need to move it to committee, and then hopefully the next person we hire won't miss 30 days or more. You know.
Oh.
So we'll have, you know, somebody
Wow.
who shows up to work and that kind of thing.
With that being said, we want to go into closed session.
We have to be special with that, with mistakes like that.
And the purpose of the closed session is mutual release and settlement agreement, Ben Harbor and MERS and ASHE fact finding.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Isom?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
What do you do for a living? We're here for the closed
She said it herself. She apologized. She apologized. But I know what I'm doing.
Right, sure.
That's possible.
Attorney here. Oh, okay. Well.
Russia, tell them, come on. Good.
I've never said that.
Yeah. I know.
Crazy time of year. I know what she's talking about.
That's sweet.
I need to know before.
Okay. And it means.
How you doing? See you later.
And I saw, and I worked on that, and a lot of things I didn't bring out.
Sure.
About the downtown. But the mayor
No, they just reported back to them, and they needed
I had served with him.
Right.
Okay.
All right, tell the wife I said hello.
Okay, you do.
So I had already started reporting that there was some serious things going on.
How are you?
At the time, but I didn't plan it, I put it on the newspaper, but I went to each one of the commissioners, let them know what was going on there, I was sitting on the board. And they didn't do it. And now the one that they put in my place, she's resigned. They constantly, I brought up the issue of the water, I was the one that brought 2 bottles of water. I said, check on that. Mayor was doing it in the trash.
Just do that out there.
Because every time I asked him about it, he said, I'll get back. What more can you do?
They're
I'm
talking
just
to
a
them,
resident
so
here, and I'm
citizens
just
don't
gonna
know
say
what's
what
going on.
I mean,
I would
I'm
love
the
to
director of the Secretary of Children's
do all that.
because of my background, I went to Edwards University for horticulture. And I worked in the Howard School in the agriculture program, and that's where I retired.
Black,
Now, I'm very
black,
80 this year. I don't,
you know, and it's the same thing in here.
so, I got hit by, but I got hit by a son last summer. So I'm just blessed to be around and everything, but I
I was
can't.
just saying, have a good night. Last time.
Well, I try to take it as it comes,
Walk out.
know that I'm just blessed to
Have a
be
good
here.
night. Now, that's the last time I see you.
Yeah.
You know, thing that I talked to. It's just like,
Right.
but then ask now, 'cause I don't know him, don't know his phone number, don't know how to say nothing. So all of a sudden, he walked off the job, we got put off the job. Nobody want to talk about it, you know, because it's a secret, like everything.
They-
else is like a
Yes.
secret. So
They had insurance money
if it
to
ain't,
insure,
if
if any of those monuments was broken or
it
anything,
ain't,
they were supposed
for
to
me,
have
I'm
it
saying,
fixed.
we doing
One
it
time I was
anyway,
there,
and sit.
nobody ever knows
See,
where the
saying we
insurance
doing
money
it
went.
anyway.
There were so many
saying we
things that
doing
was
it anyway,
happening
Water
there.
Zone saying we doing it
And so that
anyway. But the
$100,000
citizens did not, I mean,
that was given for equipment,
see, that's why.
they've had a
Because I know.
clean audit for don't know how many years, and year after year, knew that that was not clean. How can it be a clean audit if we
If it
got
hadn't been for
something
our
like
money
that
for
still in?
city income tax, we would have never had anything done to our streets over in the neighborhood.
I went through the steps, I was there.
So, but they sit up there and take, all the pats on the back like they didn't do something. They didn't did shit. The citizens did everything. Voted
You know,
for,
there's
just
so
what we need
much
to vote for.
happening. The guy
And I
that
was
was
surprised.
supervisor,
Like,
he was not a
ain't
resident.
nobody do this. But she.
He was a resident.
I mean, I've had.
Oh, okay.
Just to serve on the board.
To serve on the board.
So I,
For the next
withdrew
level,
myself.
Oh,
But I had.
such a shame.
Say it
I
again.
had the meeting for the
All the
library, all
millage
of
for,
that.
yeah, all of that.
Meetings and
Citizens needed work. They didn't do that. None of them did that.
Year or two.
But we don't get no credit.
These meetings.
Mhm.
We get
Cemeteries only been
dismissed.
7 times.
See, look,
And it was
He gets-
just addressing complaints.
a reason to walk
So
away from a job making that kind
I
of money.
volunteered my time, I
And
actually
actually,
researched it all, and then buried on the cross.
Mhm.
but they couldn't accommodate him. They're trying to accommodate after all this time.
Uh-huh. And some of them, they can't even find their loved ones. They were having problems with Wi-Fi. They had sold them a lot that was supposed to be someone else's.
There's a
It's
lot
a
of
whole lot of
questions
things
that
going
are in my
on.
brain about how that
For
went.
that cross, I found
I ain't even
3
seen
pieces
just
of
how
cardboard.
it plays.
Where somebody hand wrote.
Uh-huh.
That man, he got a chance to be.
There's no record.
That's a shame.
So I'm
But-
researching
Mhm.
all of the men, their military
Didn't see
records,
his
Mhm.
record.
Mhm.
obituaries,
Put himself
their death
together.
records, and everything, because I want to be able to create a document that tells their
And
story,
it should be there.
so they're not forgotten.
Mhm.
And eventually I'm going to put up some kind of markers that I have with things about that job. Or women, this is for women now.
Right. Right.
And I just can't see
Right through.
right through. And when they talk about cemetery board,
Yes. It's not reporting to them.
Everybody wouldn't.
Just like when they got me,
You know, if they don't, they will.
when I reported to them what was going on, he got Dorothy Parker and got her, and she had to leave her job at her lunchtime to try to attend the meetings. So now how much does she want to use that? Now she's gotten tired of it, what's going on there. They see that I was trying to tell them what was going on. And they dismissed me, and the mayor's got to be getting a kickback, so he's putting people in place that will do his little underhanded work. His last term is this year. If I can do anything to put her in,
I get the vibe.
Yes.
I hear all the stuff that goes on. I'm the city manager is controlling the Southern Ag Board. And so they hold me, but they can't choose the superintendent. They can't do it.
It's household right there.
So I figured that out.
yes.
And with all
And
of
see,
this
a
going
lot of this
on
here is
for the
just
last 3 or 4
thing.
years,
It's because there's so much that's,
we
that's why I asked if they have investigation. Because when it's that money, you find that money tree, we'll find out what's
this
going
guy
on.
that leaves, right? You need nobody, because I'm supposed to come together and do what we're supposed to do. We got every right to be in.
But in November, they gave the
Understood, I put it that way.
$5,000.
Somebody got a beef with it. And they
Section that
It's
was
like-
right there.
Right, and they got new equipment.
Everything on the other side of the bridge was.
that's why I people don't, they don't move.
And then
Yes.
then he sent
That's good to me, knowing I got somebody who's
for more leave.
And I told them the mayor wanted to put me in, I said, there's kickbacks.
They're pro.
Because what he's doing
You know,
is getting them to just do a half-good job and give them some back under the table. So I already think that the mayor wanted to put me in it, because and I said it in front of everyone. And see, I know Mr. Big Mouth, I challenged her because this is not right. What he does is loan to Benton Harbor, I'm a part of it now, so that's what to me too. We pay our taxes and things like that.
Families out there,
Mhm.
and I think everybody needs better.
That's true.
Very
Right.
Everybody got it.
And they deserve to be able
So
to leaves cleaned
I
up.
lost a lot of respect.
Mhm.
The roads.
I said, most.
The money needs to be applied to what it's sent for.
I count singles, tigers, seeds, the beds,
But he's not gonna help because as long as they keep it quiet,
fish out.
they're gonna continue to do it. And see, that's what we call it.
I understand, I haven't seen enough to know what I see. You don't go to the high, it's not working.
No, it's great. That's
Because I
right.
hear all
They expect you to do it for the citizens.
You can't bring money to the city, but where's the money going?
That's right. And they're still writing grants and everything. And the guy that's sitting here, Mr. Little, has sued Benton Harbor City once and tried to sue him a second time. Now they got him back in here again because of money. What was it? They said that's a lot of what they said. What they call it? Local government. They said it's tricks. Something about it's all dirt. Remember the word tick is something blood.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what they do. They said something about that. Don't get on. And see, these things need to be brought out because when we pull the cover off things, people begin to see it. I had told them, I fired was the other person's over, $30,000 a week, I was going to the board. At Ballard. So I fired him. And that's how he ended up over here, because his buddy gave him out here. But I fired him and he wanted to talk to me then, but he didn't want to talk to me before. Now, I'm not gonna know until you tell me what you're gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk about you
Everybody was against
when
it.
around us,
but no sooner we
And
got it.
got $30,000 raise without
Just
bringing
where
it
I'm
before the
at
board.
right now.
And you know that.
Last meeting, see, I.
This was while I was there. So I fired
Spit it out
the rest of them
now,
after I
but they
feel
won't
afraid. I
tell
said, you're his fault. Oh, you got to go.
I did
Hey.
that out to the thing on the city.
And I said and watched them, so it don't take nothing that he wasn't supposed to take.
Other thing too, but that's one thing.
They don't, Emma Kennard is a name that they don't like to
I
hear.
can't remember the name. I know where it is and I know. But I talking about that 100,000.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but it's,
Over this side of the world.
see,
I mean,
that's
this
what I'm
side,
talking
nobody, this side of
Go
through the books.
It's just that.
it's just fancy. See, that's those books and the one that was there before, he came to me and said,
Chemical.
you don't like me. No, you don't like me and I don't like you. I said, hey,
But that's where.
we got space and opportunity here.
That's right.
That's all.
That's why.
Cause I hadn't told him I didn't like him. I might not like what he don't do. Cause I knew he was going. So they finally did the emergency management file.
Anytime.
Oh, of course. Same to you. And hope to see you again soon.
Yes.
I'll be back. That's what
All
I
right,
know.
so look forward to
We
it.
headed out.
Yes.
Let me walk you down.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Good fight, sister.
I just be there and I was gonna stop over there, left my stuff over there. Had to go work at midnight, I'm on midnight shift, this job.
Oh, you gotta, get you some eat and some sleep.
Yeah, well, they be sleep when I work with people that in this building, so they be sleep about 4, 5 o'clock, so like I just go in there,
You just there.
check on them, stay up. And
So they got everything to your disposal. They got computer, they got
yeah,
all of that.
yeah, I just be on my phone now, play it up.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they give us, I'm asked the pastor, I start bringing my laptop.
Get all
Or I can
everything.
use, I can use it on my phone,
Oh,
have my phone.
they take advantage of all the perks. So it is perks.
Sit like that. So, I think they're about to clap those. I think they're about to.
They're coming out there. It ain't that much they got to do. That's what I know they're coming out. You gotta agree on something and not agree on. Half the time, that's all they wanna do is just agree.
You had a minute there?
Hmm?
This thing.
Yeah, that's not, yeah.
You know, she stated on never speak 5:14.
Yeah, I remember my mother and a whole lot of other sisters. There was the revolutionaries back in the day. That's why a lot of them have died off, but a lot of the things that they implemented is still going on. But some of these guys had their way, they exit out of the bylaws.
And he's married in one, and I think what his name, and the question, Mark, that's why they say water rules. He told the
Water rules.
water rules, water, like water good, water rules, it's like a thing they use for induction and you. But then he told him to ask, he asked the wrong question.
Mm-hmm.
He asked the mayor, the chair, he better ask the question. Why
Nobody wants to sit on the board because you sit on the board, whether it's active or not, the mayor had the right to just X you out of that spot. And he did it over and over. He did it to me on one board. So I know he did it, and he did it to Mr. Lauer. Yeah. We did it too. Got Commissioner Henry. Adams, snatch them off, put them on the board and snatch them off like that. Like that's respectful. You're talking about being respectful.
If they go to, they should get, they should for it, it was fine.
Yeah, that's what it should, but he didn't, but the way the charter is wrote, he had to say so. And that's what need to be changed, that's why they don't want to change all Robert. None of the rules of Robert rule of law when it comes to what's going on in here.
So, yeah, that's what we're talking about, finance director, my next meeting, no, the board of report in ICE.
Oh, what?
Personnel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my turn, August, I'm gonna go ahead and
My thought is you'd be better off on that board by yourself. I might get more done. They,
I have a put a string for the city man. I mean, finance. It's like,
they don't know nothing about it. They don't know nothing about it, but they got those positions and to sit on. You know, that ain't what they're on. I told them, man, nothing talking behind me back, and then I tell them, if you ain't doing nothing on the boards, get off of it, and let somebody would want to do something, do it.
we just had a meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, Brownfield. We come out subcommittee to the guy who helped us with our consultant. He retired in June, and Alice of them volunteer Alex to the conflict. So you already that organization.
So he's gonna be on it, though.
He'll be a submit on him on the subcommittee to help find someone to face smart around. That's the conflict.
Yeah.
So that I guess he.
They can hand put anybody in that position they want to. Yeah. That's what they do. It's scandalous.
And I think him and somebody had a conversation already. He wants stuff that's. So our next meeting, I'm gonna say I'm hate to say I'm thinking this every night. Why?
Position.
We don't like it. I just went ahead and died on it. About the time I had something.
No, you want to hear everything you say first. That's what I did. That's like on that citizen comment. I put my name last, but I'm gonna hear everything everybody else said first. Whatever it is, no doubt your name is that way. And yeah, every few somebody got to sit before you go up there and say so. I like to hear other people's ideas anyway, because most times citizens got the right ideas. I'm telling you. And they don't want to do the work because they're working for white folks on a job somewhere. You know, come in, sleep, want to run the meeting, sit up there and start going to sleep, and you running the meeting. Because you're tired, you've worked since 5 o'clock this morning, and you're trying to run the meeting in the evening. So I say, y'all look bad, and the camera's gonna show it. It's gonna show it. You sitting up there speaking, that's why I said something to the rest of the camera, because I don't want it to look like that. I wanted the cameras in here, but I don't want them to see something that looks like a mirror hand, or it looks like C's head, or Sharon Henderson. She don't know what I said, but she don't care. See, that's what I tried to tell them. It's gonna make them up. They're gonna say some dumb shit, and it's all over there. And I don't even know much about that, but I know when you start messing with somebody, and she just straight out start messing with you, man, saying some shit that she could have not even said. I would say that, and everybody listening. And the cameras, they can cut them things off, but they still work. I think it's still work, but picked up on online information, sitting up in the talk. That's what I did. That's what I did want about the police is running. And they was right now, they had everything they say. You It's wired, I bet it's wired. I can feel like it's wired, I don't know it's wired, don't know. But I can feel it, like just some speakers on or something, you know what I'm saying? And it could have been your phone.
I forgot the password. I've got the same phone. I forgot the password.
Well, they didn't get another phone.
No, I got the password from my phone, but this phone is connected.
To in here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, like, my tablet. So it is like, so about 6-7 minutes. And I was the dude went, the dude that asked the person about the water pipe. That's what the
About a man was sitting in there.
7 minutes.
7 minutes to do what?
They had to hook talks for 7 minutes, Marcus.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that was about 10, 12 minutes right there. 'Cause I was like, ooh, is he gonna finish? Then he stood up and kept on talking, which they did. Certain people do certain things and certain people can't do the same thing. You know, like if it was you, no way you could walk from there to way over here and just keep talking. They'd say, come back up to the mic, right? I could. On your time, you might as well just get up and go sit down. They gonna beat the gavel and all that shit. Yeah, that's rude. That's not the way. That's illegal. I found out that all that shit is illegal. That's why I do what I do. I just keep on talking. So what I said was, we have the right to say whatever we want to say in this chamber. See what happened to Mike and Don, or what happened for them. And I think about them all the time because they got it, but look where they at now. That's why I know there's some shit going on in their mind. But they don't want the truth to be told. That's why it took so long to get the chamber wired. Because they didn't want the truth to be told. Started talking about truth, they started. And I started talking about organized crime. I started talking about organized crime. Basically, everybody started shaking their head, looking down at the floor and shit, but that's what it is. Anytime you got the state, what was her name? Jennifer Grant. She with all everything going on, how they try to steal the Chamber Park, all of that kind of shit, man. So you go back. They would do everything they could to get it out. Open all black people, they died so they can live in houses. You know, the kids that have no jobs, couldn't keep the houses. So that's where the houses at. World Food Chamber. And Corn Spot. They're all the same. They're all one. Yeah, they're all one. But they playing in the game. Nobody can see or understand this shit. What violence. They come together, they come when it's time to come, they come together. You see them side by side.
Yeah. And yeah, I work out her stores, so I see all of them.
Yeah, you know everyone on my side.
Yeah, that's the point they start reminding me at work, like, join us, like,
Oh, yeah. They are a real mighty white.
to the change homes, you know, that, like, people run, you know, like, we can work with you, outside. They, I told them I'll check in, they put me with white homes and stuff. I'm like, all
They're
right.
recruiting you. They're recruiting you. I know, they tried with me just to see what kind of guy I was, but I come straight out the projects. And you can't deal well with Peter Colovis. that property you got up there on the hill, back over here? I forget what was name. It was uncle and nephew on that house right on the corner, on the right hand side, big white house.
On Market Street.
You got Mark?
You come up on the street.
No, up the hill, right here, when you go out of it. You go out right here, you make the left on Pipestone, there's a street right there to your right as you make that turn, go up the hill. And I was right down the hill and sits up and look at all the downtown on a clear day, you can see the river. I forget that brother's name, his family owned it. But I think he went into the life of crack and shipping his family and stuff. I think they lost that house to Peter Close because he owned the huge lots next to him around that curve up there.
Down.
Yeah. Should that be up here?
Yeah, when they heard the house down the pipe, and they were complaining about them bringing in on their property, putting flowers and stuff. That's down.
Oh, going up the hill right here?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so like
you go out the driveway, go through the light, make a, I mean, not through the light, you make a left at the light, and there's a right hand turn right there.
yeah, the church, the church, yeah, Bellevue.
Bellevue?
Market, it's like Market, Bellevue.
In Bellevue, okay, that's right.
It's, I can't remember.
I remember.
Once I go, I really talk about that.
Right, I was born, and so I know, I just can't, I imagine that, I can't pull the name of the street, so real quick, but.
Adam Church, that church right there.
Yeah, right up the hill, on the right-hand side, is a big house right on the corner, it's like on the corner, because there's nothing else in between that house and the back down, it's Pipestone. And they owned all that property, but I think they lost it. And I even told him, I said, yeah, if you don't want to keep building that property, sell something. But I don't know if he got sick, I forget what his name, but after had bills with his name, but he got it, and he left order, so.
Something that my allergies acting up. My apologies for early.
Trying to tell you. I'm glad.
I just love my freak. I'm not a liar. I don't like liars. Every time I come here, I think, who I want to hit in the back page? That brick.
Absolutely.
So that should have been said.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So the city council has come back from our closed session recess. There is no action from the closed session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams and supported by Commissioner Henry. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin?
Yeah.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson? Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Isom?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats? Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Here you go.
Mr. Green, what's that? What's that? Thing right there.
What's that?
Right there.